Yes, hello everyone, Falcher Ash, Cúilín Media. Welcome back to another weekend review show here on the channel. It is myself, Seamus Brady, joined by Matthew Hurley to kick off the episode. Aaron Prendergast will be joining us in about 10 or 15 minutes time. Liam White, unfortunately, cannot be with us today, but we have an outrageous weekend of action to look back on from Gaelic games. We have across the board Westmeath winning just their second ever Leinster title and their first since 2004. Armagh finally winning the Ulster title under Kieran McGeeney, first one for them since 2008. In the hurling, the All-Ireland champions Tipperary have been dumped out of the All-Ireland Championship. Absolutely sensational stuff. Dublin getting a massive win over Galway, Offaly getting a massive win over Wexford, Kilkenny with an impressive one over Kildare. Waterford out of the championship, confirmed after losing to Limerick as well. Then we've huge action from round 4 of the John McDonagh and the final round of the Christy Ring, Nicky Rackard and Laurie Marr Cups. The All-Ireland Camogie Championship kicked off with Group 2's round 1 with the meeting of Offaly and Wexford, which we'll come to, and also the Munster Senior Camogie final between Tipperary and Waterford that saw the Premier County get a sensational victory over the Dacia. And in the LGFA, we had the Provincial final for Leinster, and Dublin came out on top against Kildare, retaining the title. Kildare falling agonisingly short of what would have been a first provincial crown for them. As always, our championship coverage for 2026 is partnered by ATAC Sports. Massive shout out to them. If you want to find the best gear around in the game, check them out across their socials and their website. So as I said, joined by Matthew Hurley to run us through, and joined by yourselves, the viewers. If there are any highlights that you want to discuss or want us to discuss, fire it into the live chat there and we will discuss all. Matthew, what a weekend we have to look back on.
Yeah, it was quite the weekend when you look at the games this weekend. Watching the Tipperary and Clare game last night, kind of shocking how lethargic again Tipperary were in not just one half of both halves really. Obviously even Dublin Galway, didn't even mention that in the intro. Dublin getting over the line there in the Leinster hurling championship and having one foot into a Leinster final there. And
I did.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like today was absolutely remarkable in so many ways. And Limerick and Waterford kind of went in under the radar, probably rightly so, considering Limerick were comprehensive winners in many ways. And I watched the Ulster final. I was actually at a club game for the Leinster final, so I didn't watch the entire one. So I actually watched it on the RT player, a combination of the RT player going down the car and the RT radio. And obviously they weren't in sync, so it was kind of confusing at times. But yeah, the mantra stays the same. It was an absolutely brilliant day for Westmeath. First Leinster title since 2004, and the spirit of Paddy O'Shea kind of lives on in Westmeath. And it's a brilliant achievement for that Westmeath side to win a provincial crown. I think I might be corrected on this, but is it the first, or I'm thinking other than Tipperary and Cavan, obviously that was a weird year in 2020 with COVID, but other than that, is it the first time either a Division 3 or Division 4 team have won a provincial championship since Roscommon in 2010? I might be wrong.
I was thinking Roscommon in 2010 were in Division 4. And then there was that batshit year where Cavan and Tipperary both won, even though they weren't in the top 2 divisions. Capture Athletics, big shout out, of course, provided us with the Cúilín Media hoodies. 18 long years, we finally did it. Sean saying football is well and truly back. It's so competitive now than what I grew up with in the decade of the Dubs. We all enjoyed it. That's the other thing is today, obviously a big day as well for Cúilín. We were in the press centre at Croke Park. I was in the press centre. Matthew, we wouldn't make you make the trip up to Dublin. It's a long, long trip for Matthew up to Dublin for those who don't know. But in the press centre for it, obviously, I'm a Dub, I'm in the press centre, I'm clapping for Dublin scoring. But when you are there and you see the emotion and the happiness and the joy in the Westmeath fans, the people, the players, you're there going, yeah, you know what? I'm happy for them. Like, there's a part of me that is, if we want the game to have retained that magic, we need days like this. And you're delighted for Westmeath, even though Dublin came out the wrong side of the result.
Yeah, exactly. And you could definitely feel the emotion in and around, even watching on the TV or even listening to it on the radio. It's just incredible in so many ways for Westmeath to win the crown. And as a Division 3 team as well, I don't think anybody would have envisaged it, considering their path to the final as well. They had to beat Meath, Kildare and Dublin. Like, other than Louth, like that's the biggest way of winning a Leinster championship, and beating all the big guns along the way. So yeah, it's a brilliant achievement for Westmeath. And shout out as well to our friend of the show, maybe you could call it, and Jason Keelan.
Oh yeah, I met him today. I got a photo with him. It'll be up somewhere.
I see.
And what's funny is when Dublin won, I went over to him a full time, and I was like, "Am I allowed to speak to you, or do you want a few minutes? Will I come back to you at the end of the game, maybe?" But he's an absolute gentleman, and yeah, congratulated him at the end and everything like that. And again, when I'm talking about being happy, he was so happy at full time. He'd never seen, well, he hadn't seen Westmeath win a Leinster title in 22 years.
Yeah, it's mad. And I actually seen a brilliant photo with Jason with Ronan Wallace, I think, in the tunnel area.
Yeah,
that was a brilliant pick, in fairness, as well. And it probably just shows the Westmeath players love what Jason does as well. And Jason is a staunch Westmeath man as well. So absolutely delighted for him more than anything, because obviously we both know him. Aaron and Liam, I'd imagine, would know him quite well as well. So no, it's just absolutely brilliant for him. Delighted for him. Delighted for everybody in Westmeath getting the glory today. And yeah, lads, I would say the Monday Club will be absolutely rocking in Athlone and Mullingar tomorrow. But we'll see how that all plays out.
Absolutely. Well, let's just dive in, and Aaron will be with us in just a moment. Hopefully, Aaron, I don't know, maybe he's having one more pint before coming on to try and get ready for this episode. But let's start right here. Leinster Senior Football Championship Final of 2026. Westmeath 228, Dublin 26 points after extra time. A truly magical day for Westmeath. When you're talking about history, for Westmeath, it's only their second ever Leinster title, their first since 2004. And another thing that's remarkable, it's the first time since 2001 that Dublin have lost a Leinster final. Talk about a historic day in Croke Park. This is absolutely off the scale from Westmeath. What a monumental achievement.
It's superb. And to beat Dublin, not only to beat Dublin, but to beat them by 8 points. It was, and I think Aaron said this in his tweet earlier, that Westmeath didn't just beat Dublin, like they battered them in many ways. They absolutely deserved it throughout the entire game. And I know a lot of people say, okay, the goal by Jack Duncan at the end was kind of a gloss at the scoreline. But in truth, Westmeath were way above Dublin. That first period of extra time, that was the absolute killer in this game. Yes, the goal by Brian Cooney, it's a bit of luck, but I think Westmeath earned it throughout the entire game today. Dublin were 11 points to 9 up, and they were, I think, 5 points up at the stage in the second half, and you were thinking, okay, Dublin need to calm this down and get it over the line here. But Westmeath never knew what... They didn't take a loss as a word today. They wanted to win it, and it was just an incredible occasion. Like, Matthew Whittaker was brilliant from wing back. Like earlier in the campaign, the likes of Shane Corcoran and Brandon Kelly, we talked about him standing up. To be fair, Brandon Kelly got 4 points for play, but sending Baker off the bench, 4 points. To be honest, I didn't know why. Mark McHugh might know more, to be fair, but I don't know why Senan Baker didn't start from the off.
Brilliant off the bench.
He was absolutely
fantastic.
Superb. And yeah, he's a very, very good player as well. Very good youngster. And obviously John Heslin coming back to the team. There was a question mark whether he'd start, even be on the panel. He was on the panel, and then he came on, got a 2-pointer in extra time, got a free in normal time as well. Like, he made an absolutely massive difference to Westmeath in this game. He kind of was the grain of rice that tipped the scale for them. The likes of Brian Cooney, Sam McCartan, Ronan Wallace, who've been absolute heroes. Ray Kinnenan, of course, the man of the match officially from RT. I can't really forget him. Like, every Westmeath player, and I think Cora Staunton actually mentioned on RT Radio, there was heroes everywhere you look around Westmeath. There was heroes from 1 to 15. There was heroes on the sideline. There was heroes on the bench. Every person played a part in this Westmeath victory today in their panel. It was just an absolutely incredible victory for so many people involved, and it was just an incredible win for so many people in Westmeath that have had some hard years. And I think I don't know who it was that tweeted this, but I think it was actually Paul Fitzpatrick from the Anglo-Celtic Cavan. He actually said that, imagine saying to a Westmeath person, in 2025, you get knocked out of the Leinster Championship by Kildare, you lose to 2 Division 4 sides in the Tailteann Cup. Then the next season, you'd win the Leinster Championship while beating Meath, Kildare and Dublin, while also without your best player, Luke Loughlin. Like, it's sensational stuff. And you have to credit Westmeath. To be fair, I think a lot of people would have said before the Kildare game when Luke got the injury that a lot of people would have said, this is done. Westmeath are not going to win the Leinster Championship. The fairy tale storyline is not going to happen here. But they didn't believe anything that was said in the media. They wanted to win this Leinster Championship. And there was other players, as I mentioned, the Brandon Kellys, the Shane Corcorans, the Ray Kennellans, the Ronan Wallaces, the John Heslins today, the Shannon Bakers today, stood up when it was counted, and they earned Westmeath this provincial title.
Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable. Liam here saying, well, lads, sorry can't be on tonight. Currently on a train back from Limerick Waterford game. What a result that is for Westmeath. Football Championship delivers again. It certainly does. There's like, you do run out of words, and like, it's ironic as well. Well, not ironic, but it's almost poetic that you're talking about what was the grain of rice, you know, the throwback, of course, to Paddy O'Shea's legendary speech before that 2004 Leinster final. But what was interesting as well, Matthew Whitaker kind of mentioned it in his post-match interview. This was the press conference. And I asked him at the post-match presser, I asked him basically, because he mentioned in the question beforehand, he mentioned that, you know, they've been so unlucky. They'd been heartbroken. They'd lost by a point to Wicklow. They lost by a point in multiple games in Division 2 last season and got relegated. They had been so close to famous wins under Dermot McCabe. But then my thing was I said that for me, that made it more impressive when they held their nerve at the end. Because when David Byrne fisted over for Dublin, I thought, okay, Dublin are going to close this out. And for Westmeath to just go straight down the other end and Shannon Baker to slot it over, I was like, okay, there's something a bit different about Westmeath today. They're not going away no matter what. And in extra time, they absolutely had the legs on Dublin. They had the fitness and they drove it on. The first half of extra time, they dominated. And they left us with far too much to do in the second half of extra time to pull it back. They are worthy Leinster champions. When you look at it, they've beaten Meath, Kildare and Dublin in the final. No question about it. They're the best team in the province. And it's absolutely incredible stuff. For Mark McHugh, his first year in charge, I mean, it's hard to top this already.
Yeah, and somebody again, I'm looking at tweets and things like that because you kind of have to with an event like this and the magnitude of this Westmeath victory. But somebody said as well, his dad, Mark McHugh, actually clinched, was the manager of Cavan, who clinched their first Ulster title in something like 28 years, I think it was, in 1997. So maybe there's something in the blood with the McHughes here. But what a job that Mark McHugh has done with Westmeath, and the job he did with Roscommon as well with the coaching and all that. Like there was serious potential in Westmeath, and he has definitely made it all come to fruition. He's been an absolute breath of fresh air into Westmeath, and yeah, he's replicated his dad's successes with Cavan in the 90s, and it was just an incredible occasion for him more than anything.
Welcome, Aaron. You're just in time for the depression session from a Dublin point of view, but in terms of elation, you can't but be happy for Westmeath. It's an amazing achievement. I was saying there, when you're talking history, if you're talking history, this is the only Westmeath, like if you're talking history, Westmeath's second ever Leinster title, their first since 2004, and the first Leinster final that Dublin have lost since 2001. What a historic day in Croke Park.
Yeah, absolutely. Like an incredible win from a Westmeath perspective. Like probably like one of the best provincial championship wins of all time, I think. Like to beat Meath, Kildare and Dublin. Like I can't remember the last time, if ever. From Division 3 as well. Like probably the only two provincial championship wins that eclipse this is maybe Clare in 92, Leitrim in 94. Like, but I think aside from that, I think this one is probably number 3. Probably even eclipses the one that they won in 2004, in my opinion. Like, yeah, just incredible. They probably should have won the game in normal time. Like they were by far the better side throughout, in my opinion. I thought like Dublin were like kind of keeping Westmeath at arm's length. It felt like we were sort of just about doing enough up until around the 50th minute. But when Matthew Whitaker scored an absolute blinder of a 2-pointer, the game just became incredibly chaotic after that. And Westmeath absolutely thrived on all the chaos and everything else. And yeah, well, I'm sure we might get onto it, but obviously with the ground probably being 90% Westmeath fans, then yeah, you know, they were absolutely going to be, you know, the you could kind of hear the roar and everything else. That it was definitely driving on the players. And yeah, you know, they were fully deserved of it. I think it would have been an absolute robbery, really, if we had came away with a win there towards the end. Like Westmeath were, I think, 3 points up with 5 or 6 minutes to go, and they had chances to put the game to bed. They 2 opportunities that they missed, one from a free, and they had another one shortly after that as well. Like so yeah, look, fair play to them. You can't take anything away. By far the better side, well deserved. And yeah, look, it's kind of crazy. I mean, the Leinster Championship was dead for many years, but it's absolutely alive and kicking now.
Yeah, no, I personally think it's the best Leinster final I've seen. It's definitely the best Leinster final I've watched live. Like Louthmead 2010 was dramatic. Louthmead last year was very good. Dublin didn't have many good Leinster finals in the period where we were hammering everyone. Like there wasn't really any good Leinster finals, to be honest. Like Dublin Mead 2012 was dramatic at the end. Jamie Queenie smashed in a late goal, and all of a sudden it was game on. But apart from that, it was either Dublin were hammering teams or out. Yeah. The Leinster Championship is going to one or the other. Yeah, we plenty of comments flying in. Aaron looked like way more maroon and white on the hill today. It's only Westmeath's 3rd ever win over Dublin. Stockman Tim says, up the banner and the fabulous Baker boys of Westmeath. We've loads of guys, love to see it. Keep them coming. It's so much to discuss on this game. A2 says, rant over, lads. Hate to single out individuals, but coming for there's no business being in goals. It was an unfortunate mistake. Because personally, like I did a little bit of filming for that point, and I thought that Cooney had taken the 2-pointer, and I thought it had just landed on top of the net. And then I swear to God, like I looked back and I was like, "What goal?" Yeah. I was like, "What?"
Everyone was really confused. Like everyone thought it was like, I think I was one of the only people actually seen it go into the net.
I was like, "What the fuck? Like, how did that?"
Yeah,
it's just mental. And in an extra time like that, I got the chance to ask Dean Rock in the post-match presser at the end of the game. I got to ask him, like, how much of a sucker punch was that? Like, because it's one thing if Westmeath got a goal, you know, where they worked it through the hands and they absolutely carved the defence open. But not only is it a massive boost for Westmeath, it is such a, oh my God, type of goal to concede, where it really feels like it's not your day. And Dean's answer was said, yeah, it was a huge sucker punch. But on top of that, it was the fact that you have so little time to fix it. You've so little time to rectify it. And that goal turbocharged Westmeath into the lead. And yeah, then they were winning every kick out as well. Like we got wiped out at midfield. And yeah, it's another game where it's just a massive Brian Fenton shaped hole in our midfield. I'm just like, one day, hopefully he comes back. But that's the other thing that we have to look at this as well. And I'll go back to you for this, Aaron, is we knew after 2023, because we got the band back together for 2023, won the All-Ireland, but we knew that there was probably another drop-off coming. I didn't see it dropping off this much. This is kind of a little bit frightening, to be honest.
Yeah, like it's, you know, like it's mad because like the players that are there that are really good footballers, like Cormac Costello, and you know, you see the likes of Kieran Kilkenny, Brian Howard, even Noel Scully at times today, I think we're very good. But it just, I don't think we've kind of gotten with the new rules. We haven't adapted to the new rules whatsoever. Like it seems like we only kick 2-pointers when we need them. It's like we're in trouble. We need a 2-pointer, blah, blah. The only 2-pointer we scored today was the Cormac Costello free. And even at that as well, I don't even think we had a 2-point attempt even before that. It still feels like we're caught playing even the same way that we played under Desi and even Jim Gavin many, many years ago when the game was all about controlling the game and taking the sting out of teams and high percentage shooting zones and all this kind of crack. Like that game is gone now. It's different. It's a different game now. And we just we're so lethargic in how we play football and our build up. Like even as well, like even coaching wise as well, like I was kind of worried watching that. And I don't know, like if it's obviously Jerry Brennan hasn't been there. He's not even allowed to go to training. Now you'd imagine his messages are being relayed to Dean Rock and everything else, and then Dean Rock is obviously passing them to the players. So it's a hard one to judge because we don't know if things are getting lost in translation. maybe Jared Brennan isn't getting time to coach these players. And obviously it is worth mentioning with Dean Rock, it's his first year in senior coaching. So very, very hard for him to have the experience or know-how of what to do. I know he's a phenomenal footballer, but it is different when you're a manager. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just felt like, looking at the Westmeath team in terms of how they play, like you could see their patterns of play. You could see them driving through the middle. You could see them working 2-pointers, working goal chances as well. There's a lot of variation in terms of their play. But yeah, with Dublin, like, doesn't seem to be a huge amount coming through, to be honest. There's probably, like, as well as that, like, the decline could actually get worse because Kieran Kilkenny, Noel Scully, these lads, like, they're in their twilight of their career now. So, they probably move on in the next couple of years as well. And maybe they look at recent results and go, do you know what? I think I might just leave. And it feels like the fans have given up as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, it does feel like a little bit like we are where Kilkenny were in like 2018, 2019, where all of a sudden a lot of the talent is gone out the door and it's just kind of hard to know. That being said, Dean Rock rattled off a bunch of names in the press conference of players that can come back. Like, he goes, well, we still have to get Con back. We have to get Lee Gannon back. We have to get Owen Merchant back. Padro Corfig-Byrne got injured. He dropped out of that. And I was thinking, yeah, you know what? When he rattles off those names, we can still put together a good starting 15. But again, how much is this paper and cracks? How much is this just sticking a bandage on an axe wound? Like, we do need to rebuild. Like, this needs to be a project now that Ger Brennan needs to be quite happy to be at the wheel for a few years and build up a new team. And because clinging on to the remnants of what was a 6-in-a-row glory days team, it's clearly not going to get us to the top anymore. And the reality is, there was a question there previous, I think, from Killian McMullen saying, are Dublin a Division 3 team or are Westmeath a Division 2? Are Dublin more of a Division 3 team or are Westmeath more of a Division 2 team? No question about it. Westmeath are more of a Division 2 team. Hence why they beat Meath and why they beat Kildare. Yeah. They absolutely belong at the top table. And today proved it. But what I was most impressed, and sorry, Colin Basquel as well, another one that he named. But what my one is I would look at this and go, for me, the most impressive thing, as I said, was how many games Westmeath have lost by 1 point, 2 points over the last few years. And when David Byrne fists it over to put Dublin 1 point ahead again, it would have been very easy to go, it's happening again, and panic. But again, Matthew, I'll let you have the final say because we're 23 minutes in on the first game. We got a lot to go through. But can I ask you to talk, number one, on John Heslin, his absolutely sensational return, and then wrap it up for us from there.
It's just sensational for John Heslin to come back in, and he was always talking about the way he wanted to help Mark McHugh out. He wanted to help his former teammates out, the likes of Ronan Wallace and the likes of Luke Loughlin as well, obviously, who got injured, and he wanted to replace him, and he absolutely did it. Look, I think it's crazy to think that he was commentating on GA Plus for the game against Kildare, and then in the Leinster final, he comes on and helps his teammates to win the Leinster Championship. I think it's an incredible story. It's probably one of the stories of the year. I know we're only in May, but it's definitely up there. And it was just an incredible occasion for Westmeath to win this trophy. And it does show that Leinster football does have a place in terms of in the good provincial finals. Like, we had a good provincial final in Connacht, a decent provincial final in Ulster as well. It's a shame that Cork let us down with that second half display last week in Killarney. But yeah, it was just an incredible win for Westmeath, and it just gives hope to every underdog up and down the country. Like, maybe even to Wexford as well, because Wexford, let's not forget, beat Westmeath during the league. And they did beat Limerick at the Tailteann Cup, fair play to them for that. But it might give Wexford that extra kind of boost to say that we could win the Tailteann Cup here. And the thing is with them, and there was a lot of talk about the Tailteann Cup, but Westmeath have won it, Meath have won it. Those two counties have kicked on. Down have kicked on as well. The only county that hasn't really, it is Kildare, but that's only a year since they won the Tailteann Cup. So maybe it'll give hope to the likes of Kildare, what they can do in the next few years. But it's just crazy to kind of think that Dublin, Louth, Westmeath and Meath and Laois have all won, and Westmeath, of course, have won provincial titles in Leinster more recently than Kildare. And We don't want to bring up the blot point that is Kildare football right now, but at the same time, Kildare have to be thinking to themselves, if Westmeath can win it, if Lowe can win it, if Laois can win it more recently than us, surely there is something in the water there that we can go on and win Leinster Championship with the underage that has come through in Kildare, with Brian Flanagan getting the building blocks there. But on to Westmeath, yeah, it's a brilliant achievement for them. And to win a Leinster Championship, it's probably one of the stories of the year, even though we're only not even halfway through 2026.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. Liam has a question for us, and Aaron, I'll pass it over to you. And then I'll pop up all the comments that we've got in about this game, because we've got tons, and we appreciate you all throwing them in and getting involved in this episode. Aaron, this one is from Liam here. He says, how far can we see Westmeath going in the All-Ireland series? For me, they'll beat Cavan, and then the world is their oyster from there.
I think, yeah, like I think they've, it might depend on draws, but, quarterfinal is definitely achievable, and then depending on who they play. It's one of them. Winning this Leinster title, like it will be like an All-Ireland. It will feel like an All-Ireland for them in many ways. There will be a huge amount of celebrations and everything else across Westmeath. I've already seen some clips as well that some family have already sent to me in terms of some of the celebrations and everything else. So, that will be absolutely huge. I remember when they won the Leinster title in 2004, they went into an All-Ireland quarter-final, I think against Derry, and they were beaten quite comfortably on that particular occasion. We saw what Louth last year when they won Leinster. They probably didn't have that good of an All-Ireland series in the end. So it's kind of interesting. Like it could go one or two ways. Like they could, be celebrating loads and everything else, which is rightly so. But the draw is very favourable. Playing Cavan at home, they'll absolutely fancy their chances in terms of winning that game. Obviously, going into the winners' round, there'll be a lot of other good teams in there, of course, but I give them a strong chance. And I think a lot of teams don't really know a lot about them, like a lot about Westmeath. You know what I mean? They're probably underestimating them a bit, like what Meath did. And they're a hard team to figure out. They have a lot of newer players, like younger players on their side, like Brandon Kelly and Shane Corker and Senan Baker. Like these are all very young footballers, and we don't know a lot about them. We haven't seen too much of them. So it's hard for teams, I think, to do their homework on them. So I think a quarterfinal is definitely achievable. It will depend on draws and everything else, but even in a quarterfinal, like if they I think Kerry and Armagh are probably the two best teams in the country, in my opinion. Donegal as well. If Westmeath got drawn against them, I would fancy Donegal, Kerry, or Armagh to beat Westmeath, but I think Westmeath would give a good go. Do you know what I mean? So, I think in that pack underneath that top three, I think Westmeath are right in and amongst it there.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely sensational. And when you look at the fact as well that they won this game without Luke Loughlin, absolutely crazy. One of the best, if not their outright best player. So it's sensational. Already one of the stories of the summer. And just like that, the Leinster Championship has had 3 champions in the last 3 years. So all of a sudden, the championship that was absolutely being held up as the example of why you needed to get rid of the provincial championships, all of a sudden it's burst back into life again and had the best run that it's had in terms of multiple different winners since the start of this millennium, where we had Westmeath win it in 04, Laois win it in 03, Dublin in 02, Meath in 01, Kildare in 2000, Offaly won it, I think, in 97 or 98 as well. So we are in a bit of a golden patch if you're looking at the history books in the Leinster Championship, so let's enjoy it. And for Westmeath, enjoy what is an absolutely sensational and thoroughly deserved Leinster title, and that's from a dub. Enjoy it. So we're going to move on now to the next game. The Ulster Senior Football Championship final also went to extra time. Armagh 228, Monaghan 25 points. Armagh have finally climbed the Mount Everest that was winning that Ulster final, when you consider the heartbreak that they had to go through, losing on penalties to Derry, losing on penalties to Donegal, losing after extra time to Donegal again. And now in this final, especially when Monaghan pushed them to extra time, you wonder, did Armagh fans have their heart in their mouth again? But they get over the line. They dominated in extra time. Monaghan did run out of gas. They went, I think it was over 15 minutes without a score in one period of the extra time. So yeah, Armagh thoroughly deserving Ulster champions, not just for this year, but for the journey and for the heartbreak that they experienced before. They did deserve at least 1 year with the Anglo-Cell Cup. And lo and behold, 2026 it is. Aaron, great win for Armagh.
100%, yeah. It was a very big win. And to get over the line, to finally get that moment and everything else that they so very well have cherished over the last couple of years, having lost a couple of big finals and everything else. So yeah, absolutely huge. Like, it was kind of interesting. Like, it was very comfortable for, like 40 to 50 minutes. It was almost maybe too comfortable from an Armagh perspective, because usually their games, as we know, can get quite mental and chaotic and everything else. And then it was like, right, this is too comfortable. And then Armagh, as they so often do, the game just becomes a bit mental. And Monaghan are all of a sudden back in the game, kicking 2-pointers, bringing Jack McCarron off the bench, Ryan McInnesby on the bench made a huge difference in the game. And it was in those last 10 minutes, it could have went either way. Even in the last minute, where Armagh had the ball, then they lost it, and Monaghan go down the other end. Like, so very, very interesting game. But in the end, I think Armagh's depth of their panel probably kind of really showed, with bringing Oisin O'Neill off the bench and a few others as well, like Ross McQuillan as well. So yeah, very, very dominant in the end to get over the line in extra time. They, even as McGeaney said, look, they probably did make hard work out of it, probably more so than maybe they should have done. But look, at the end of the day, they got the job done, they got the win, and they've got the monkey off the back, and you saw how much it meant to the players, to McGeaney and the manager and everything else. Like an incredible achievement.
Absolutely is. And then, Matthew, we were expecting that this game would be tight, not because of the fact that, but because those finals are always tight and competitive. And you've got Armagh and Monaghan, two teams that, I mean, if this was back in the day, the two of them would be in a coliseum screaming at the fans, "Are you not entertained?" Like, the two of them love nothing more than to put on a show. And that's exactly what this was.
That is. And to be fair, I think the Armagh won this in extra time. Like, Armagh had 10 shots in extra time, they converted 8. When you look at Monaghan, they had 6 shots in extra time, only converted 1. And they had 1 score in extra time. That was at the start of it. I think it was Stephen O'Hanlon got it. But other than that, Monaghan didn't trouble the post from an Armagh point of view. And then you look at Armagh, like that goal by Oisin O'Neill, I think in the first period ended the game, I think. And you look at the way they controlled the game in the second period of extra time as well. There was no chaotic elements. There was no madness. There was no chaos, organised chaos, if you want to call it that way. Armagh just got the job done in extra time. And to be honest, they probably should have got the job done in normal time when Tiernan Kelly got the goal. Ryan O'Toole kind of misjudges that ball in. I think it was by Keane McConville that floated the ball in. And then Monaghan, for some reason, Monaghan always get these kind of bursts, and Armagh just didn't respond. But at the end of normal time, Jack McCarron gets a 2-pointer. And I remember at the end of normal time, Rory Beggan had a chance of a 2-pointer. He normally nails them. I know it was beyond the 45-metre line, but normally you put your house on Rory Beggan to nail that, and he missed it. And I think that hindsight's a beautiful thing, but I think that was the moment where Monaghan lost again. It's a shame for them, obviously, because they got to the final. Fair play for a brilliant performance against Derry in the semi-final for coming back into that one. But yeah, Armagh were just a better team in this final. They were not going to let go of this one. And imagine, like, from an Armagh perspective, to lose 4 Ulster Championships finals in a row would be absolutely damaging to that team. So they would have been desperate to get the job done in this game, and they got it done, in fairness to them. Brilliant extra time display, and that was the one that got them over the line. And I think the Monaghan kind of frustration culminated in that Darragh McAlarney sending off at the very end. And yeah, it was just a frustrating afternoon for Monaghan, especially at the end. But from an Armagh's perspective, unbelievable performance. They were absolutely brilliant. I think it's 70% shooting accuracy across extra time and normal time, which is absolutely exceptional levels of consistency, I think, in 90 minutes of football. You have to give it to Armagh in that way as well. And they are All-Ireland contenders. There's no doubt about that. Brilliant display from Armagh, deserving Ulster champions. Everything went right on the day. Everything kind of went smoothly, I would think, except for the post-match speech by Aidan Farker, which I think went on for about 10 minutes, which was a bit too long for my liking. But look, I'll give him it.
Absolutely. Brendan here with a very interesting question. Says, is Geezer the first to win provincial and All-Ireland medals as both manager and player? Definitely isn't, but it is definitely a very, very esteemed club to join. Off the top of my head, I can think of, if you want to go back really, really far, you've got Kevin Heffin in there, you've got Mick O'Dwyer, you've got the likes of Larry Tompkins, I think, Matthew, Larry Tompkins, no, Billy Morgan. Billy Morgan did. You've got Conor Coonahan, you've got Jim McGuinness. Basically anybody who won an All Ireland before the qualifiers were introduced in 2001, if they went on to manage their county to an All Ireland. So that's Jim Gavin, Pat Gilroy, Desi Farrell. All three of them did it. Pádraig Joyce has done it as a apologies, should have. But there's plenty of examples. But it is definitely an exclusive club, and now added to that club is Kieran McGeeney. Unbelievable stuff. And we were talking a lot, Aaron, about why Kieran McGeeney was still Armagh manager. And we were saying the Ulster crown, he had unfinished business. If you could sum that up in a line, the aim was surely to win this Ulster crown. That's surely why he's still here, and he's done that now.
Absolutely, yeah. Like that was the target. That was the goal at the start of the season. You know, like, I mean, they've done everything else. They've won the All Ireland. The Ulster title is the holy grail for those players, and especially for the likes of Aidan Forker and a few of the others as well, who've obviously been there for quite a long time. You know, like to finally get that moment. You know, like, because I know they won the All Ireland, but they had a huge amount of heartbreak in terms of the Donegal defeats and losing to Derry on penalties as well. Like, so to get over the line, just absolutely huge, I think, for the players. And yeah, like it's why for me, like, Ulster nearly meant more to them this season than maybe even the All Ireland. I know they'll absolutely have their eyes set on the All Ireland as well, but they have to get their monkey off the back. Like, to have this group of players that they have, and to have not, and for them to have not have yielded an Ulster title, just would have been a big disappointment for how good these group of players are. So yeah, just absolutely huge.
Absolutely. Gax here says, Armagh's squad depth is on another level. I think Geezer has nailed it by not starting Oisín O'Neill and waiting to bring him on later. He's such a 2-point threat off the bench. Sean here saying Armagh finally getting it done. Great achievement given their squad was where thin without Rian O'Neill and injuries to Ben Creedy along with others. Yet they finally got it done. You'd be a little bit sad for players like Stephen Campbell, Niall Grimley, even Rian O'Neill, who's still not got an Ulster medal because he wasn't part of the squad. Like, it is quite interesting to see how many people weren't there. I wonder, will Rian come? He probably won't come back, surely not at this stage. We'll get on to the next game. We have Maga here. In 2023, we played Monaghan, and they were vastly more experienced. Today was totally different. The experience factor now is huge for Armagh, and that only comes through playing big games over and over. That's a very, very good point. Monaghan in that quarterfinal in 2023, the one that was decided on penalties, Monaghan had the experience. The likes of, Conor McManus, Darren Hughes, those lads had been around the block and then some. Whereas Armagh were still on the come up, and they'd exploded onto the scene with that cracking game against Galway in that quarter final. But yeah, Sean asking, do we think Geezer will call it quits? I think it's the most likely that I've ever seen him to call it quits now that he's completed the set. But no, to be honest, I don't think he will. I think he'll want to stick around for as long as possible. I think he absolutely adores being involved as a manager, and I think he'll stick. And why would Armagh want anyone other than him? Like, he absolutely knows how to get the best tune out of this Armagh team. But yeah, if we're looking into it, Matthew, you mentioned extra time. What were the key things in this game that tipped it in Armagh's favour in the end?
It was maybe the subs coming on, like the likes of Oisín O'Neill, and maybe their key performers standing up. And for so many teams, you talk about maybe one player standing up or two players, but two players at the backs. For Armagh, there was Conor Turbot, scored 5 points. I think he assisted 4 as well. Oisín Connolly scored 6 from play, assisted 4. Ross McQuillan even coming onto the pitch, and even the panel that Armagh have to bring Ross McQuillan on, to bring Oisín O'Neill on, to bring these sorts of players, Rory Grugan, of course, to bring these sorts of players on and get them over the finishing line. That was the thing that tipped it for them. Like the panel that they do have. Okay, Monaghan do have Jack McCarran to come on, and that was a magnificent boost to have. And even Conor McCarthy, who started today, I think he was one of these. I think he started only a couple of games up until now. But for him to be added to Monaghan, that would have been a boost. But Armagh just went deeper into their reserves, and they won the Ulster title because of it. And there was other players that stepped up. Like I think in the beginning, they mentioned in co-commentary, Oisín Connolly scores 5 points for play in the first half. Doesn't really do much in the second half, and doesn't really do much. He only scored a point in extra time. But there was other players that stepped up around the team. Even the likes of Dar McMullen, the likes of Tomas McCormack Okay, he scored a goal against Antrim in the Ulster Championship last season. But for me, I think he's been one revelation in this Armagh team. I think Jarry O'Byrne, I think the RT panel mentioned, he was initially catapulted into the Armagh team around 2018. Then he went off the Armagh team for a small bit, and now he's one of the regulars. Tiernan Kelly at centre-back has kind of changed his game into going into that role as well. Like, Armagh realistically don't need... I know Ethan Farker came on and did the speech at the end. He only came on for 2 minutes. But realistically, do Armagh need Ethan Farker? Maybe around the panel, maybe around the dressing room as a leadership sort of figure. But I don't think they need him on the pitch now. Like, you have Tiernan Kelly. Barry McCambridge came on as well. Like, Armagh could survive without him. And that was a Footballer of the Year contender a couple of years ago. Yeah. So Armagh, and look at the goalkeeper situation. Blaine Hughes, Ethan Rafferty, 2 goalkeepers, I think, would start for any inter-county team in the country. So you have those kind of people in your reserves. Like, Callum O'Neill can't, I don't know, was it an injury problem or what it was, but he couldn't even get on the panel. You look at like, even around the field, the likes of Darragh McMullen, for instance, would have been kind of a squad player over the last few years. He's nailed his role into starting role. Even Andrew Murnan, in midfield for the last few games in the Ulster Championship, didn't do a whole lot wrong in midfield. I thought he was winning a lot of ball. They put him in full forward today, and his effect on the game didn't change. Like, Armagh have these players that can play in a multitude of positions, and as well as that, they could delve deep into their reserves as well. So people talk about Kerry and their reserves in terms of All-Ireland glory or whatever. Armagh could run Kerry very close in terms of their numbers off the bench as well. A lot of people talk maybe about Kerry's panel and things like that, but I think it is a debate to be had and say that Armagh are up there in terms of squad quality, and Kerry are up there as well. Donegal probably in terms of the starting 15, but I think Armagh are certainly up there in terms of their squad numbers, in terms of 20, 25 players that could seriously do a job and could seriously put it up to the first teamers. And those are sort of players off the bench, the likes of McMullen and all them. I didn't even mention Oisin O'Neill, the confidence he brings off the bench as well. So Armagh have a serious panel, and I think that Armagh could run Kerry a lot closer than people think. I backed them for the All-Ireland, and I'm still backing them for the All-Ireland, because I think they have serious depth in their panel. And now they have the Ulster Championship monkey off their back. Look, I think the sky's the limit for this Armagh team.
Yeah, I think it's very, very interesting. I think it would be fascinating to see, do they drop off now that they've got the Ulster Championship and they already have an All-Ireland, or do they kick on to try and go for that second All-Ireland? It'd be fascinating to see what order it goes, because we don't usually see teams win the All-Ireland before they win a provincial. It's very, very rare, very unique. They share that with the Clare Hurlers. But anyway, massive congratulations to Armagh. We're the Ulster champions for 2026. And now we're going to move on to our next game. We had one game from the Tailteann Cup this weekend, Down beating Leitrim by a goal on 27 points to 16 points. The goal and 3 points came off the bench from Rory McCormack, but Pat Havern also got 5 points, while Micheál Rooney and Caleb Doherty also got 3 points each. Daniel Guinness got 4 points from midfield as well. It was a tough day on the road for Leitrim. It was always going to be tough going away to a downside that had just beaten Donegal in the previous round, but ultimately Down get out with a 14-point win to kick off their Tailteann Cup campaign for 2026. And moving on now, Aaron, I'm going to go back over to you for this one. This one was a much happier story for the Dubs. This is the one that kicked off today in Croke Park. Dublin 2-12, Kildare 2-6 in Croke Park. Dublin retain the Leinster Football Championship, beating Kildare by 6 points in a very, very entertaining back and forth contest. When the game was in the melting pot, Dublin got 2 crucial goals. The first from Niamh Crowley and the second from Caoimhe O'Connor. In my opinion, it was just a classic case of experience winning out. When the game was in the melting pot, Dublin knew how to close it out, and that's what told ultimately in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, from what I've seen of it, it was quite an even enough game, probably up until those goals. And especially when Alana Proisman gets the goal for Kildare, you're kind of thinking, right, this could be a bit of problems here from a Dublin perspective. But as you said, having the big players who've obviously been there and done it time and time and again, and obviously some of the newer girls that have come in as well. Caoimhe O'Connor with the goal, Niamh Crowley with the goal. So, yeah, huge in the end, I think, for Dublin to get over the line. And look, at least we did have some success with provincial championships this weekend.
Absolutely. So, Matthew, I don't know if you've seen this online or anything like that, but Kildare got one of the best goals I've seen in Croke Park from Aoife Mernan. She absolutely slammed it into the top corner from outside the D. It was one of the most outrageous strikes I've ever seen. At that point, Aoife Mernan slammed in a goal to the top corner, an outrageous goal. It looked like it might be on for Kildare. And then in the post-match interview, the Kildare manager was basically saying that the amount of players they're missing, Nasa Dooley, Roisin Byrne, these players are key losses to Kildare, but the progress they've been making has been astonishing. Dublin and Kildare now head on into the All-Ireland series. What are you expecting from both of them?
Yeah, Kildare have kind of shocked me in terms of the players that they have been missing. I knew Roisin Byrne and Grace Clifford were missing from the Kildare team, and obviously Nasa Dooley going down to AFLW. That's massive losses. They still have the likes of Leisha Linehan, but like obviously Alana Prizeman as well. But that's serious losses in the team from a Kildare perspective, and especially considering they were intermediate champions a couple of seasons ago. The last thing you need is those sorts of players leaving the panel. But the way they put it up to Dublin, okay, this is a Dublin team that got relegated from Division 1, granted, but it's still a Dublin team that has a lot of experience on the panel, the likes of even and Niamh Crowley. I know Niamh Crowley's a younger, kind of in the younger brigade from Dublin point of view, but she's still won. I think it's 2 All-Ireland, Seamus, is it? From her perspective.
Parents All-Ireland champions as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So Dublin do have experience, the likes of Orla Nolan there as well. I know the likes of Nicole Owens and Hannah Taylor, they lost him in the off season through retirement. But you still have Orla Nolan, you still have Queeve O'Connor, you still have Laura Grendon, who got 3 points today, was really standing up, to be fair. Like, you do have some serious talent in that Dublin team. They were All-Ireland champions last season, and Paul Casey and Derek Murray have that kind of winning mentality in that Dublin team. So like, it was still going to be a hard ask for Kildare despite getting that lead, but I think Kildare should be very proud of their efforts. And you look at the All-Ireland campaign now, it does bode well for that All-Ireland campaign as well. Dublin, I'm not sure exactly what group they're going to be in for the All-Ireland series, but you look at Dublin and Kildare's prospects in terms of the players that they do have and in the panel, I think they could seriously go far in the All-Ireland series, especially with the likes of Kildare reaching the All-Ireland quarter-final last year. That should have been the springboard in further success in many ways as well. So yeah, I think both will do well in the All-Ireland series, and it'll be interesting to see how they progress.
Absolutely, Peter. Same Hernan from my club. She's been a prodigy since she was a kid. Peter also saying Roisin Byrne, a massive loss. A2 saying perhaps we can get the women out to play the next day against Louth. So they're definitely being more successful lately, no question about it. But yeah, their experience got them over the line. They certainly did. We'll come to this one as well. This was a huge win for the Offaly Camogie team, beating Wexford in Tullamore, obviously the newly crowned Leinster champions. We'll come to that. There were other provincial finals across the LGFA and intermediate and junior codes. Starting off intermediate, Cavan beating Monaghan by 4-13 to 120 in Brewster Park. That's back-to-back Ulster titles at the different grades for Cavan. They are absolutely rising like a rocket. And Shauna Lynch once again captaining them to more glory. Antrim also beat Derry in the junior final 3-18 to 2-6 in Healy Park. A very, very dominant victory for the Saffrons. The Leinster intermediate final then saw Westmeath put a bit of a beating on Wexford, 220 to 4 goals and 8 points in St. Conleth's Park. Very impressive win for Westmeath. Again, another superb weekend for the county. And Carlow continued their super 2026. They've already won Division 4. They can add a Leinster Junior Football Championship to that as well. They beat Longford by 2-12 to 8 points in St. Conleth's Park as well. But now, lads, it's time to talk hurling. And there is no other place to start but this. The All-Ireland champions of 2025 are out of the hurling championship. Who would have thought that back-to-back years we'd see the same thing happen again? And Clare were the team who finally pushed them over the edge. Clare, 125, Tipperary, 17 points. Absolutely crazy stuff. Matthew, what on earth do you make of this?
Yeah, I watched the full game on this, and Clare had the wins in the first half, and you were thinking, okay, Clare are building up a lead here, and it will take a while for Tipperary to get back into it. And then when Ian Galvin's goal went in, it was almost like, I don't want to say this now because like it's an amateur organisation or whatever, but it was almost like the Tip players kind of gave up. There was just no kind of bite to Tipperary in that game. I know there was obviously the sending off from Willie Connors, which compounded matters in the second half, but even the fans leaving, like even when Stephen Tobin and all them were coming on, and their younger players as well coming on and getting scores, it was a mild cheer. And like the Tip supporters left early as well, I think they kind of knew the writing was on the wall as well. It was just a poor performance on so many levels from a Tipperary point of view. Even to have, like, Clare had 45 shots in 70 minutes. Tipperary had 26 shots. That kind of just epitomised the game in a nutshell. Clare had 17 wides to Tip's 5. Clare had most of the ball. They had most of the shots. They had most of the opportunities. They utterly deserved to win the game. 125 to 17 points obviously was as comprehensive as it looked. That was the scoring throughout the entire game as well. And you look at Clare, their originated scores. Clare got 115 off turnovers, 7 points off tip puckouts. That's 122 off turnovers out of their 125. Only 3 came off Clare's own accord. So 122 came off tip errors. That's, like, to be honest, for All-Ireland champions, and you could say All-Ireland champions or whatever, they beat Cork fair and square in the All-Ireland final, they were deserving champions last year with pure tip, whatever. That stat is not good enough. In any level, it's not good enough to stay in the Munster Championship and to even come remotely close. Like, you look at Waterford, I know I didn't watch much of the Waterford-Limerick game, but it looked like Waterford were at least ready to battle against Limerick in the Gaelic grounds. It didn't look it last night from a Tipperary perspective at all. And that is the worrying thing, I think, for Liam Cahill, even going to next week's game against Limerick, because, like, they've nothing to play for now. Limerick have a Munster final to play for. It'll be very interesting to see kind of the reaction for the Tipperary players. I know they're out of the championship. They'll know they're out of the championship and all that. But it will be interesting to see what reaction the Tipperary players will be giving next week. But it was very, very poor. John McGrath, okay, he got 2 assists in the first half, but, like, the ball just didn't go to him enough. Darren McCarthy wasn't involved only by frees. Jake Morris was trying to be fair. Like, Jake Morris was a player trying to take the game by the scruff of the neck, 4 assists, 4 points as well. But it was just lethargic again from Tipperary perspective. Like, we talked about it in the first half, in the 2 first halves, they actually performed well, and against Cork and Waterford. And then the second half, they started the dip. The dip was the entire game last night. And, like, it's very, very hard to establish from a Tipperary point of view, considering when you look at what the talk was from Tipperary fans, maybe in the off-season and before the championship, saying that Tipperary had been disrespected. They were deserving All-Ireland champions last year. We knew Tipperary would have a dip because they haven't defended an All-Ireland since 1965. Like, that is the stat being brandished about. But, like, to give up your All-Ireland like that in that fashion last night against a Clare team, let's not forget, that went down pretty tamely against Limerick at home a couple of weeks ago. It was just very, very poor from a tip perspective. And yeah, it was just a tame way to go out of the championship. Look, as for Clare, it was a brilliant display from them. Ian Galvin missed a few shots, but was absolutely brilliant in this game. Shane O'Donnell, strangely enough, Dave McIntyre said he didn't have his best game, but he still got 4 assists. I know he didn't get in the score sheet, but I thought he was still chipping in. I thought Tony Kelly was very, very good at stages. Dermot Stritch was superb. Absolutely superb. For a guy so young, for a guy that did well in the Fitzgibbon Cup really well, he announced, I know he's done well enough in the first 2 games for Clare, but he announced himself properly last night. He was absolutely brilliant. I think their puck-out strategy was absolutely superb as well. Their defence, the likes of John Conlon was sweeping up. I think he chipped in with 2 assists there as well. Niall O'Farrell has been brilliant from centre-back too. Like, and to do this all without Mark Rogers, who went off injured early for, like, in my opinion, probably should have been a sending off there and then for Willie Connors. But for Mark Rogers to go off early and for still Clare to put up a tally like 125 and to get 122 off turnover ball, like, that's exceptional from a Clare point of view. And they'll be going to that Cork game with a spring their step now next week. And you look at the table, Clare only need a 4-point win over Cork to reach the Munster final. Look at the performance in this game, not in the Limerick game, because you'd like to think Clare will put that behind them. But in this game against Tip, I think they'll definitely rattle Cork's cage. Considering Cork's injury issues as well, Clare are definitely up in contention for a Munster final suddenly.
Yeah, and we're talking about how Armagh finally got the monkey off the back in terms of winning an Ulster title. Clare will definitely be eyeing up a last-minute surge into a Munster final where hopefully they can put that to bed as well. We've plenty of comments flying in about these games. Peter saying, lads, remember what Donal Óg prophesied And Sean here, like Donlog says, no, he rises or falls faster than Tip. They were very lackluster, very disappointing, even though they never back up All Ireland's. Well, Jer here saying must be delighted with a Clare win, saying interesting thing is last week we all thought Cork win the Munster final. Now Clare can pip Cork there with a 4-point win. Wouldn't back it, but not impossible. Yeah, we're seeing a lot. Liam here saying Clare way better than Tipper, nowhere near the standard they set from 2025. Just saying, will people stop saying that Clare's title defence last year was the worst ever? At least last year we had an injury crisis, but Tip had their best players available to them. And some stat 122 from turnover ball. Loads in about this. Clare will have the opportunity against Cork to get to a Munster final. Cork's injuries, including recently Darragh Fitzgibbon, potentially out for the season. When I seen Dan talk about it, I think he's at least out for 4 weeks. So that's a massive blow for Cork, if so. But yeah, we've seen remarkable recovery. So hopefully for Cork's sake, he's not out for too long. But a very, very impressive win for Clare, and Tipperary out of the championship, along with Waterford, who went down against Limerick 229-220 in the Gaelic grounds. Limerick looking very, very strong for Waterford. Another year comes to an end, and the Munster Championship once again just proving that little bit too ruthless.
Yeah. Is that for me?
That's for you, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any of this game now being at the Dublin game. But obviously kind of keeping an eye on the score and everything else. Like I think Waterford were leading at half time, which definitely seemed like a bit of a surprise at the time and everything else. But look, from looking at it, just from kind of looking through it on Score BO, like they obviously got 2 goals in the last 10 minutes from Peter Casey and Gerard Hegarty, which were obviously crucial there from a Limerick perspective. And yeah, unfortunately for Waterford, it's again they go out, another season where they go out a championship and everything else, and maybe in other games they're a little bit unfortunate. I'm not too sure in regards to this one, but yeah, huge win from a Limerick perspective. But yeah, I don't know if any of you lads seen the game.
Well, Liam here with a good one says, simply put, Limerick played for the first 10 and final 15. Obviously, Liam was at the game. Waterford played well, but the goals killed them mentally, and Limerick kicked on from there. Cian Lynch had a huge impact off the bench. Yeah, Limerick in a good place, but we're going to move on because we have to get the skates on. We've got a lot more to get through. And Aaron, I will go back to you, and you definitely will know your stuff about this next game. Dublin beating Galway in Pearse Stadium, 316-21 points. Absolutely sensational win for Dublin away in Galway. This one shakes up the Leinster Championship. We've pulled the rabbit out the hat again. We did it when Galway were under Henry Shefflin. Now they're under Micheál Donoghue, and they're in a much different light. A lot of people see Galway as moving in the right direction. But once again, we've managed to go over there and beat them. Ronan Hayes and John Heatherton in off the bench had a massive impact on the game. And especially Ronan Hayes looked fantastic. Brian Hayes getting the goal at the end to kind of seal it. Huge win for the Dubs.
Yeah, massive win from a Dublin perspective. Yeah, like biggest win of the season, I think. Going away to Galway, having considering how good they've looked, people have been talking about Galway as maybe a side that could potentially win the All Ireland. So to go there and beat them, just absolutely huge. I was actually watching this in the Porrick Pierce's pub as well. Very historical pub. I was there with a few lads just watching the Celtic game, and they actually had this game on afterwards, which was nice actually to show a GA plus game in a pub, which very rarely actually happens nowadays. So at least that was good. But yeah, very, very dominant performance and dominant win from a Dublin perspective. Like there was times in the game where it looked like Galway were probably going to have enough. But I think we just managed to keep ourselves in it. Like in particular, I thought Conor Burke was absolutely brilliant in the game. Donald Burke obviously scoring 1-9 as well. And then the goal at the end, the kind of icing on the cherry from Brian Hayes. I mean, the catch, first of all, to take the ball that's coming in round the goalkeeper. Really, really solid stuff. And, I think the most impressive thing is, from a Dublin perspective, is that I've seen these games so many times where we're falling behind to a big team, we're a couple of points behind, and then we kind of make a bit of a comeback and we overturn them, but then the other team comes back and finishes us off. But this time, no, we held our own and we kept going, we kept pushing. Like even that goal at the end from Brian Hayes, he didn't need a goal. He could have just took a point. So to have the kind of tenacity to bury it in the way that he does. And obviously Keane O'Sullivan gets a point after. So yeah, huge win, I think, from a Dublin perspective. It doesn't guarantee us in a Leinster final just yet, because we will need to get something versus Kilkenny. And Liam White will absolutely have his Dublin jersey on as well for that game, because and there is actually been a bizarre scenario which probably won't happen. Well, no, it's Wexford, so it won't happen. But if Wexford beat Galway, Dublin beat Kilkenny, Offaly beat Kildare, Dublin Offaly final, that would be, do you know what I mean? I think that would be pretty cool. But let's be honest, Galway are not losing to Wexford. We've seen some mad things this year, but no, that's not going to
happen. Peter here saying we've plenty of commenting about this game. Starting with Peter saying, Galway starting to creep back in. A2 saying Dublin hurlers channeling Jack Charlton, get it long to the big fella. And Ronan Hayes, Dubs to win Leinster. Peter saying Galway a false dawn. Sean saying great win for the Dublin hurlers. Hedgehoe and Ronan Hayes off the bench made a real difference. A2 saying proper smash and grab, but that's what good teams do. Kilkenny been praised for it for decades. Peter saying have to fancy the Dubs for Leinster. Now, Stockman Tim says the external chatter about Galway getting to them a bit. It'd be very interesting to see that, because there was a while where a lot of people were talking about for the All-Ireland. Jer saying here, have to respect Brian Hayes going for the goal at the end and scoring it. Imagine if the keeper caught it and worked it down. High risk, and in this case, high reward. Liam says, please beat Kilkenny next weekend or I'll never talk to you two again. But there's nothing we can do about it, Liam. A2 saying big credit to the management, the right subs at the right time. And Stockton and Tim are saying Leinster Championship is shaping up to be great for the next few years. Time for the fans to get out and support. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, we're going to move to the next game. And it's a shame that Liam isn't here with us for this one, because this one shakes up the order in the Leinster Championship. Offaly are now a top 4 team in the province, officially beating Wexford 221 to 215 in O'Connor Park. Sensational win in terms of its significance and everything like that. But let's be honest, when you look at the form this year, it had been coming. Offaly drawn with Kilkenny and drawn with Dublin, 2 teams that Wexford had lost to fairly soundly. Owen Cahill absolutely outstanding with 112. Adam Screeney with a goal and a point. Thoroughly deserved win for Offaly. And yeah, shakes up the championship, Matthew. And you're on mute, sir.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's a brilliant win for Offaly in many ways. Like, it was a fantastic display from Owen Cahill, Adam Screeney, all them as well. And obviously, did he get a bit of luck? I would say at the start of the second half, obviously with the sending off of the penalty. But to be fair, they had to drive that on. And once they slotted that penalty away through Owen Cahill, then the goal from Adam Screeney, like, was just like the roar. I know I only watched the highlights though, but for what it seemed like, the roar around O'Connor Park was absolutely brilliant, and it was just a brilliant day overall for Offaly. And it's just an indication. I see Liam's match reaction from and the Faithful podcast on Instagram as well. It seems like the Faithful County are coming back now into the top tier in hurling, which is absolutely brilliant to see. Obviously, even before I met Liam, obviously you'd want to see counties like Offaly do so well. Like genuinely, before this season, the only kind of good moments I got of Offaly was 2013 when they scored 4 goals against Kilkenny. Yeah, they still lost the game, but that was against the Kilkenny team under Brian Cody. They scored 4 goals, and that was like an indication of what Offaly hurling could be. And they then went down through the grades. It's absolutely brilliant that they're on the way back up again, a proper hurling county, and absolutely delighted to see them get this win over Wexford. Wexford, it's just not been a good campaign for them. And Keith Rossiter, I don't know what will happen in the off-season now with them. But yeah, they stay up anyway because of the head-to-head record with Kildare. I think they'll be relieved by that. But yeah, brilliant win for Offaly. But from a Dublin perspective, lads, you have to think Denzel Washington from Gladiator 2. Give me the ball. Strike Kilkenny down while you can. Kill them and get them out of the job. Like, I think the whole country will be shouting for Dublin. Genuinely, no, lads. I think the whole country will be shouting for Dublin to knock the championship.
I'd be 100% sure about that. Maybe. It depends how much they have a rivalry with Kilkenny. Big shout out to Cúilín the football genius commenting here. Obviously a regular guest on our pod and as passionate an Armagh man as you'll meet. And if you haven't checked out his pod, first of all, I'm surprised if you come and watch our show and you haven't seen Cúilín's work. But he says, well, folks, just home now. What a day. Got absolutely soaked and thought we were going to lose it in extra time, but we prevailed. Unreal, lads. Ulster champs. Well, enjoy it, Cúilín. Thoroughly deserved, and definitely paid for in full with the heartache and everything like that he experienced in previous finals, and enjoy it. Liam says, I'll file legal action if you lose next week. But yeah, we're going to move on. The final game in the Leinster Championship doesn't need to be broken down too much, unfortunately, from a Kildare point of view. Kilkenny put a very comprehensive win together, 4-25 to 14 points. TJ Reid leading the way with 2-6, while Harry Shine and Owen Cody both scored a goal and 2 points each. It was a very comprehensive win for Kilkenny and Nolan Park. Many people thought maybe Kildare would be able to bloody up their nose a bit the same way they did to Galway the previous week in Newbridge, but it wasn't to be. Comprehensive win for Kilkenny, and that sets up a huge showdown against Dublin next weekend in round 5. It's going to be something else. We're going to move on now to round 4 of the Joe McDonagh Cup. Matthew, hugely consequential round as always, the penultimate round. And start off, Carlow had a very, very impressive win in Cullen Park over London, 5-27 to 11 points. Antrim bounced back a bit against Westmeath, winning by 229 to 220. And Laois had a very impressive win over Down, 4-28 to 27 points over a downside. They have been going quite well in the Joe McDonagh this year.
Yeah, it was consequential results in one game in particular, the Carlow game, because it does confirm Carlow's place in the Joe McDonagh final, and London are relegated back to the Christie Ring, which is kind of a shame. You wanted London to stay up because you want new teams coming up to the ranks in hurling, but it wasn't to be for this London side. Martin Kavanagh, Conor Kehoe and Jack Tracy goal for Carlow. It was a brilliant display from them. Laois, it isn't mathematically confirmed, but they're technically in the Joe McDonagh final because the results are not going to sway in terms of score difference, and even if it does, Laois are playing London in the final game, and even if the game is on a rise up, Laois are winning that game, no doubts about it, and they only need a draw to get to the Joe McDonagh final officially. Aaron Dunphy got a hat-trick, 3-5 in this one. Tomas Keys got 1-2, and Stephen Maher had 8 points, so a really big win for Laois, which kind of ends Down's hopes in terms of getting the Joe McDonagh final. And as for Antrim, good confidence boosting win for David Fitzgerald's team, but you have to feel this is Davy's penultimate game in terms of his Antrim gig. And yeah, I don't think they're getting to the final either. So it looks like it's going to be a Carlow-Laois final, London going down.
Absolutely. And Carlow-Laois, I think, is the final that most of us predicted. I think I predicted an Antrim-Laois final, which, I think I did. I think I went Antrim-Laois. I expected a bit more from Davy and Antrim, to be honest. I thought that Davy would use that talk about them being washed and everything like that and create that kind of siege mentality, but it just hasn't really quite happened. But still, results like this show that there is still a bit of a kick in them, but not quite enough to get to the final, it would seem. The Christie Ring Cup had its final round this weekend as well. Derry beat Kerry by 2 goals and 15 points to 19 points. Meath beat Donegal by 2 goals and 18 to 116 in O'Donnell Park, while Wicklow beat Roscommon by 3-12 to 111 in Aughrim. The key results are the Wicklow-Roscommon result and the Derry versus Kerry, because Derry and Kerry will meet again in the final, while Roscommon are relegated from the competition. In the Nicky Rackard Cup then, we had this result, Mayo beating Louth by 3 goals and 22 points to 19 points in Dowdall's Hill. Sligo beat Fermanagh 329 to 210 in Markovich Park. And Tyrone once again put up a huge number of goals, beating Armagh 8 goals and 15 points to 1 goal and 22 points in the Tyrone Centre of Excellence. And with that, Tyrone are into the final. The semi-final will be between New York and Mayo on Saturday, the 23rd of May. And Armagh are relegated to the Laurie Marr Cup. And speaking of the Laurie Marr Cup, the final round of the Laurie Marr also took place. And the finalists are Leitrim, who beat Cavan by a goal and 23 to 116 in Port Sean McDermott, and Longford, who beat Monaghan by 416 to 114 in Pearse Park. And the other game then was between Lancashire and Warwickshire. Very, very entertaining game by the looks of the score sheet. Warwickshire won by 620 to 4 goals and 12 points in Port Nahair. And so the final of the Laurie Marr Cup will be Leitrim against Longford. Lads, any thoughts on how things are shaping up? Any early picks for who you think is going to win those finals?
I go Christie Ring, probably Kerry. I think that goes without saying. They're probably too good for the Christie Ring Cup. The Nicky Rackard, Mayo New York is such a hard one to call because you don't know where New York are actually at because they haven't played the game, obviously, and you don't know who's on their panel. So be interesting to see who is on their panel. But no, I'm going to go for Mayo. I'm going to go for Mayo in that game. And I think Tyrone will win that final. They've been absolutely exceptional in this competition. And I think Longford will beat Leitrim in the Laurie Marr.
What are you thinking? I'm going to go Leitrim first of all. I'm going to go Leitrim to win Lorimar. And Christy Ring, I'm going to go with, apologies, Jesus. Nicky Rackard, I'm going to go with Tyrone. And Christy Ring, I'm going to go with Kerry.
Yeah, I'd probably agree as well. Yeah, I think Kerry, I know they lost to Derry, but there was nothing to play for. Probably resting players and everything else. So I would go with Kerry to win that. In terms of the Nicky Rackard, yeah, I'd agree with you both yourselves there as well. I think I think Tyrone are looking a bit too stronger there. And in the Lorimar, I think I would go for Leitrim.
If I was to waver, I'd probably go Longford. Like a little bit dodgy because Matthew said Longford right from the beginning. And usually if Matthew's that confident, he knows some information that we don't. But anyway, we're going to move on now to the final code. It's time to talk Camogie. And Matthew, I'm going to go back to you for this one because it took place in your own province. Tipperary winning the Munster Senior Camogie Championship. A goal and 14 to 14 points in Semple Stadium. Tipperary win the Munster Championship. Incredible win over Waterford in Semple Stadium. 114 to 14 points it finished. Fantastic win for the Premier County.
Yeah, it's a great confidence booster for Tipperary, who won their second Munster title, I think, in 4 years. So a fantastic achievement for all involved there. Emer McGrath getting 7 points. Cueva Stakelum, who's one of the new players on the team, got a goal in this game as well. Emer Heffernan and Grace O'Brien, they all contributed. From a Tipperary point of view, and it was a brilliant win for them. And Waterford, their wait for a big trophy is still going on, which is kind of unfortunate for Waterford, because like a lot of people, including I think two people in the live show, actually tipped Waterford for the All Ireland. It's kind of worrying now with Waterford they've made great strides, but they haven't won a league title or a provincial crown, which is very, very concerning, I think, in terms of getting over the line in these sort of big games. But for Tipperary, it's a brilliant win for them, and it's a question mark, can they break that glass ceiling in the All-Ireland series? Now, they do play each other in Group 1 in the Camogie Championship in the next few weeks, so it will be interesting to see, will Waterford win that one? Was it a bit of shadow boxing going on the Munster final? I'd imagine not, because there was a trophy on the line after all. But yeah, it was a brilliant win for Tipperary, and I'm sure they'll be definitely All-Ireland contenders this summer, especially the way Cork are going and the way Kilkenny are going, and teams like that as well. Galway's inability to do 2 in a row might be costly as well. So Tipperary will fancy themselves in terms of an All-Ireland crown, especially after winning this provincial title.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the best points that Matthew made there, Aaron, is that when we're looking at Camogie over the last decade, there's no question that Cork, Kilkenny and Galway have definitely just been the dominant force. However, if you're looking at teams that are going to break that mold, Tipperary and Waterford are the two main ones that you look to. Seeing them face off in a Munster final is very, very interesting, because I think the way that the championship could go, we could see these sides meet for silverware again down the line. Cork don't look at 100%. Kilkenny are a bit in transition right now. And on top of that, Galway, as Matthew said there, haven't really shown a tendency to go back-to-back in the past. Now, obviously, they can put that to right this year, but it seems a very, very open Camogie Championship this year.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, like you wouldn't say there's a definitive favourite. You know, people can make arguments maybe for Galway after what they did last season. Maybe Cork, will bounce back. But yeah, between Waterford, Tipperary, and the likes of Wexford, Offaly, who've been able to cause their own kind of shocks and surprises. Now, I would be surprised if one of them went and won the Leinster or the All Ireland crown. But yeah, absolutely, it does feel a lot more wide open, and I think it's good. Like I think when you have, speaking about it, even with Leinster football earlier, like it's when you're having the same team win the competition or the same finals and everything else, it kind of kills the excitement, kills the buzz, and you don't want to be watching the same thing every year. You want new teams, you want new storylines, and it kind of keeps it interesting and entertaining, doesn't it? So yeah, no, I think it's great for Waterford, great for Tipperary, and great for Camogie. Yeah,
I think when you look across the board, lads, we are having an absolutely sensational here, and I'll come back to it in just a second. We have one more Camogie game to go through that took place at senior level across this weekend, and that was the opening round of the Camogie Championships of 2026. Group 2, round 1 saw Offaly beat the newly crowned Leinster champions. Wexford brought back down to earth with a bit of a bump. Offaly 2-10, Wexford 1-12. One of the goals came from Faye Mulrooney. Also, Grace Tehan got 2 points. Clodagh Lahey got 3 points, and the other goal came from Mairead Tehan. She also got 3 points along with that from midfield. Matthew, Wexford brought back down to it with a bit of a bump.
Yeah, and what a win for Offaly, and what a late goal to get as well. I'm sure, like, it was the ideal day for Liam in Glennis O'Connor Park yesterday, I have to say. So fair play for Offaly for getting over the line. Faye Mulrooney getting 1-1, and obviously with Maria Tehan putting in the performance that she did yesterday, and Claude Lahi. Like, it was a brilliant win for Offaly, and it was a great way to start the Camogie Championship, because many people, I'm not sure, would we have said them to go down? I'm not entirely sure, but a lot of people probably would have said Offaly would get relegated back down to the Intermediate Championship. So for them to get over the line, it is a magnificent achievement to do that, especially against a Wexford team that won the Leinster Championship only a week ago. So yeah, brilliant win for Offaly, brilliant way to start the championship. Is there an argument to say, though, Wexford were kind of maybe recovering a small bit from the Leinster celebrations? Obviously, it would have been a indeed excuse, I have to say. But look, fair play to Offaly in all seriousness. It's a fantastic result for them, and it should set them up for a decent championship, especially with being in Group 2. Group 2 is well open in this. You look at Limerick, Clare, Dublin, these sorts of teams. Offaly, while they probably would be on a lower scale to them, they're well capable of beating them. So it is a good start to have in the Camogie Championship, and they're well capable of beating the teams in and around this group.
Absolutely. Well, just before we wrap up, I was going to make that point about the fact that we're only on May the 17th, and the amount of incredible stories that we've already had in the championship is absolutely sensational. Westmeath winning the Leinster Championship, Roscommon winning the Connacht Championship, Leitrim beating Sligo in the Connacht Championship. We've had the resurgence, I suppose, of the Munster Football Championship with that massive crowd that went to the Munster final. We've had, again, a brilliant Munster Hurling Championship. The All-Ireland champions dumped out again in the Provincial Championship. We've had the shake-up of the Leinster Championship with Offaly coming to the fore and Dublin coming to the fore as well, changing the guard, I suppose, at the top of the Leinster tree. We've had superb action across the John McDonagh Christie ring, Nicky Rackard, Laurie Mann, still more to go. The Camogie Championship has already delivered the Leinster champions losing in round 1 to Offaly, who were the underdogs in that one. And Waterford and Tipperary were the final. Cork weren't even in the Munster final. Like, already we're seeing shocks across the board. Like, it's just unbelievable, and it's almost impossible to keep up with. But long may it continue. And we are here on the 17th of May. God knows what will come with the rest of the championship. But that is it from us this weekend. Peter here saying, lads, great review. Thanks a mil. Have a good week ahead, and catch you as usual on Thursday at 8 p.m. Good luck. Sean says, great pod, lads. See you Thursday. Ryan here saying, lads, see you Thursday for the preview show. Thank you so much to all the commenters. Thank you so much to everybody who got involved in this show. And thank you so much to anybody who paid attention at any point during the show. It's been a really, really enjoyable one from myself and all the lads. Thanks a million for joining us. Congratulations to all the teams who were successful across the weekend, especially the ones who got their hands on some silverware, especially the ones who made history like Westmeath, etc. But yeah, we're going to move to the end of the show. Massive thanks again to ATAC Sports for partnering our championship coverage in 2026. And until our weekend preview show on Thursday, ta-ra.